2011-2012 Toyota Yaris 1NR 1.3 motor. While we wait for the engine to cool down, start with the easy bit. Cabin filter. So cabin filter we're gonna change. Do that. You open up the cubbyhole. There's a squeeze point down there. There's a squeeze point down there. There's a little lever that you have to remove. So start this side, squeeze it out. So you're just gonna squeeze on the cubbyhole and on the little clip down there. So there's a flexible piece of plastic there, and this is flexible. So you squeeze those two in. It unclips this side. You do the same this side. Then you hold it up in position while you take that clip off there. Okay, so with it unclipped on both sides, now you just gently pull this off. It clips out easily like that. Then you remove the cubbyhole like that. This will give you access to your cabinet filter. Now in this case, this one is missing the cover that goes on here. You see there's a cover that usually clips on there and clips on there, so you're gonna have to squeeze this. Not a big deal if yours is missing, but yeah, there's usually a cover here. You just take the cover off. That gives you access to your filter. So the filter, to remove it, you pull it out slightly until it gets to, you see there, it's gonna bump in there, but there's a twist area here, so you just grab a hold of the filter, twist it slightly to the right. You can see there, pull it out gently. Just be careful, it's gonna be dirty, and as you can see in this case, indeed quite dirty. All the leaves, all the hairs, all the dust, all the everything is in there. That's gonna leave you with that void over there. Always a good idea just to clean out the dust from the area before you install the new filter. Okay, with this dust cleaned off on the inside there, the old filter down here, as you can see that I told you it's dirty. This unit used to be a Wix one. Pay attention to the arrows. The arrow on the side here. I personally only believe in gut filters. That's all I use in my vehicles and in my services. Once again, this is a gut filter. It's a AC72 and it has a directional arrow. So make sure that the side, which it refers to as the upside, is always pointing upwards. The two cotton pieces on the side go left and right on there. So opposite of removal, twist the filter sideways, slide it in. Then when it's past this little plastic there, just twist it straight forward, and then you push it all the way in, making sure it seals at the back there and the back there. So at this point, if you had the cover, you just reinstall the cover down there, but like I said, not a necessity. That's basically all there for the filter. Just also as a quick comparison, this is really easy to remove. Just a comparison. This is the new one, that's the old one. Definitely in need of a replacement. Don't know when last this was replaced. Cabin filters can get quite filthy, and especially if you live in places that have higher than average rainfall or extreme dusty conditions. So yeah. Okay, so at this point we're ready to reinstall the cubbyhole. Just remember, unlike on most other cars, this one, the cubbyhole forms part of the HVAC system. So it has this little tab down there where you can turn on circulation or turn off circulation within the cubbyhole if you have something in here that you need to keep cool or keep warm or whatever the case may be. You see there at the back, it will plug up to that little sponge seal over there. Just make sure that the sponge seal is still soft, malleable, and not out of position there. And if it all's good there, clean out the cubbyhole. The insertion is exactly the opposite of removal. That pin there in there, that pin there goes there. Once all is good down there, you literally just give the gentle and firm push upwards on the cubbyhole. It will clip into position like that. You see it's locked in there and it's locked in there. Now this is a damper. All you do there, just go to focus, clip it on there. That is a damper, so that when you leave it, it doesn't just fall open, it opens smoothly. And that's all there is to replacing a cabin air filter in a 2011-2012 Toyota Yaris. Okay, so now we've now completed the cabin air filter while we were waiting for the engine to cool down to touch temperature. The reason why we're doing that is you want your engine to be warm but not scorching hot when you're gonna replace the engine oil. But while we're waiting for that, we replace the cabin air filter. Next we're gonna open up the hood, just pull the tab, so steering wheel column, you see where your hood tab is, you literally just pull up on it. So gonna go over to the hood. It's gonna pop up like this. In this case, this specific car's one did not pop up automatically. That's because there's a lubrication issue with the latch here. It was kind of down like that, but we're gonna lubricate that up in a little bit. There, you find your latch down here. Lift it up. Okay, once you got it opened up, as you can see there, this is the latch mechanism, and you can see it's quite rusted, and that's something that we're definitely gonna lubricate up so that it moves nice and smooth and freely. Then your bonnet support basically goes there. It's a small little tab that clips over your battery. First of all, it's going to be removal of the engine cover. It's pretty straightforward. You literally apply a little bit of gentle pressure to that side, a little bit of gentle pressure to this side, and it's loose. Just flip it over, you'll see there's 3 tabs, one there, one there, one there. These are little rubber tabs that just basically keep the cover in place over the engine. Alright, so under here, what we're going to do next is replace the air filter. So there are 2 ways you could do this. There's the straightforward way, which is literally just unclipping it, taking the old filter out, or you could remove the entire fascia up here. I don't have to do a full extraction of anything behind there, so I'm just going to remove the filter. Do that basically straightforward. There's 2 clips on the front of the air filter housing, and then that's all you have to remove. Then you will lift it up. It will unclip at the back. There are 2 hinges at the back, unclip there, and then you will rotate it gently out of the way after you've unclipped it. Just rotate it gently out of the way. That will give you ample access to the air filter. So that's in your engine air filter. Take the old one out there. So you can see there, it's the upside, it's the shallow side. Long side is the bottom side, or the intake side. As you can see, this one has been in here for quite a while and has seen better days. Okay, so once again, you check your replacement unit. I'm going with good once again. You see your new filter, that's your old filter, and you will just do a side-by-side comparison. Always before you install anything, do a side-by-side and make sure that it's actually exactly the same filter and that the sizes are appropriate. So yeah, okay, so now we're going to pop the new one in. So you see the cover will just automatically go back in there again, so you just twist it out of the way. Make sure there's no debris or unnecessary dirt in the airbox below. In this case, there's quite a bit of dust, so I'm just going to grab a rag and clean that out. Okay, so I've cleaned out the bottom side of the air cleaner, and also all this, you see the surrounding circumference of it where the rubber gasket's going to seal up. You do the same on the inside of your upper part of the air intake. Remember, this is the part that's going to go to the engine. Now there's also something else I want to show you. If I can just turn on the light here, there we go. That you see right over there, that's your mass airflow sensor. This is a perfect opportunity just to have a look at it and make sure that it's completely clean and free of any dust particles. Any dust particles on there will affect your overall fuel economy. In this case, this is perfectly clear, perfectly clean on the inside here, which you want it to be, and there should be no dust or debris, which means that your air filter is doing its job properly. So let's have a closer look at that little tab I mentioned there. You see all of the corners are rounded, 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 but that little one there is kind of pointy and squarish. When you look there at the back in the corner over there, let's get the focus there. There's a little tab where it's gonna latch onto. This way you ensure that you install your filter correctly. So that's the way it goes in. You're gonna ensure that it seals all the way around, all around the gasket. Everything is properly seated, and then you're gonna reposition your housing, or the upper part of the air filter housing, onto it. Once in, properly sealed, on goes the first clip. This requires a little bit of, okay, so all you'd have to do when you finalize, make sure the two clips are properly and securely attached there, and that all the hook points, the hinge here and behind there is another hinge point on the other side of the hose. Just make sure that those two are properly locked in. If they are not linked in, especially those hinges at the back, they will not form a complete seal, and there will be a leak where dust and debris can get into your engine. So that's basically it for the replacement of the air filter on this car. Okay, so thus far, replacing the cabin filter, replacing the air filter, all were tools-free maintenance things that you could do. Now next stage would be, if you're gonna replace your spark plugs, it's gonna be the next phase in line here. In this case, we're just gonna be inspecting the spark plugs. They were replaced with the last service, and they have quite a long lifetime. Remember to always, this specific engine is the 1NR. They use only iridium tipped plugs as approved by your owner's manual. So in this case, we're just gonna open them up, have a look at any carbon buildup, and see if we can clean it off. So to access those, the thing you're gonna do is unplug your connectors there. There's 4 of them. Just make sure you do one at a time. Don't do all of them. There's a risk of confusing them, or mark them appropriately if you're going to remove all of them at once. In my case, I'm just going to do one at a time, and for the first time here, you're going to require tools. It's going to be a 10 millimeter socket there. Never let this out of your sight, it has a tendency to disappear. And just, you're gonna use, I use the socket wrench already to loosen them up. So you're just gonna unscrew it, do it one at a time, and then remove the plug. Okay, so if you want to follow along just for interest's sake, or if you're gonna do this on your car, remember this is a 10 millimeter bolt that we removed. Keep it in a safe place. I'm doing one at a time, like I said, not to confuse the wiring on the ignition system, because that's going to be a headache for you to figure out in the future. Once you remove that, it just pulls out. That's your coil and plug. It does not use a distributor. Always a good time just to inspect the inside. Sometimes there's corrosion or water buildup or sludge buildup on the inside of these, on that little spring. That always has to be clean, like it is in this case. You always inspect your connections. You see that's a clean, and then you also inspect the inside of your plug, and you see that that's also clean. If there's any filter buildup, only use electrical contact cleaner to clean those up. But in this case, all is clean, and the next stage would be to remove the spark plugs. Like I said, it's the iridium type. I've already gone ahead and loosened them up. Use a proper plug spinner. Do not use any other type of deep socket or something. You're not going to get the plug out of there. So in my case, I'm using a magnetic 14 millimeter plug socket. It's a 14 millimeter, and once you've broken it loose, you're obviously going to break it loose with the ratchet first, and then you can just unscrew it the rest of the way with your hand. That will reveal your spark plug. So in this case, the spark plugs are not looking too great, as you can see there. There is quite a bit of white buildup on the plug itself. overall there's still some life left in these, but I will make a note to the owner of the vehicle to ensure that he has a look into replacing his spark plugs as soon as it's possible. Okay, so as mentioned earlier with regards to the spark plugs, just pulled another one out here again. Let's just get the focus here. To see that's good. That's just a little bit of scale buildup. Could be from impurities in the fuel, or like I mentioned, either running hot or running lean, which could cause this kind of buildup. Plug overall good condition, still got some life left in it. We're not gonna adjust the spark plug cap, we're just gonna make sure that it is indeed still up to factory specs, which is 1.1 millimeters. As you can see there, it is exactly 1.1 millimeters using your regular feeler gauges here. So I'm using a 0.05 millimeter on top of a 0.5 millimeter on top of a 0.55 millimeters. Okay, so that will give you your total spark plug gap of 1.1 millimeters. Okay, so now down to the dirty part. First of all, got the car onto some blocks. Never work with just the jack stand supporting it. I did leave the jack in there as an additional supporter. So yeah, two things are gonna happen down here. We're gonna come down to the oil pan. So when you touch the actual engine, it should feel lukewarm, but it should not burn you. Mustn't be unbearable. So this is the temperature it's at now, ideal for changing oil. That's your oil drain plug with a crush washer there. That back there is where your oil filter is going to live in. And as you can see in down there, there's a 1/2 inch drive socket point where you can just insert the socket to loosen that up. But first of all, I'm going to loosen up the oil drain plug. Got myself my container that I usually drain my motor oil in. It's a 5 liter. This guy's not going to use that much oil. It uses maybe 3.5 liters of oil. So this is more than sufficient, and then you're going to discard of it in a responsible way. Alright, drain plug removed. It's a 14 millimeter bolt. It's okay, and now we're just going to wait for it all to run down. Gonna take a few minutes, and yeah, then I'll take up on the oil filter. Okay, so now we've finished draining the oil, cleaned up around the gasket, around the bolt over there. Make sure there's no any oil leaks there. Remember I mentioned earlier that's a 1/2 inch drive. That's actually not a 1/2 inch drive. That is a 3/8 inch drive. So I have my ratchet on hand. You just plug it in into the appropriate hole over there. Once it's in, just loosen it gently. This was a bit tighter, obviously. Loosened it a little bit, but you get the idea. Always keep your oil container close by, because this is gonna be a messy one when it comes out here. Okay, so I'm gonna need 2 hands for the final bit of this, just to make sure that I can get the oil out as clean as possible. Yep, see, I told you it's gonna be a messy business. That's the oil there. You see it runs down everywhere, even though we drained all the oil already. That's your filter and the housing it sits in. So yeah, now it's basically just taking it out, then cleaning everything up, putting in the new oil filter, making sure that the seal at the bottom has a little bit of oil lubrication prior to installation, and then we're gonna have to clean all of that up. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do now is gonna be cleaning this housing on the inside, all of the gunk and filth out of here before we put in a new filter. And I'm gonna be using brake cleaner, but always remember, when you're gonna work with brake cleaner, always remove any rubber gaskets before you clean it with brake or parts cleaner. This brake and parts cleaner, that gasket sits in the little groove over here. That groove over here. That gasket sat there. I just removed it so I can thoroughly clean this up with my brake cleaner without damaging the rubber or compromising its structural integrity. So just a tip to remember, always remove rubber gaskets before cleaning with brake cleaner. Okay, now that it's all cleaned up, see, another reason why I like using gut products, your oil filter, which is designed for this car, comes with a brand new gasket for that little rubber seal on the outside. So we'll be installing a brand new one anyways. So that old one over there, we can just chuck away, since this filter comes as a kit with a gasket as well. So we're going to be installing this in there, topping it up with new fresh oil, just enough to lubricate everything, and then reinstallation shall proceed. So yeah, if you intend on keeping your old gasket, then just remember, no brake cleaner coming into contact with the gasket you're going to use. So yeah, now it's just basically the inverse of the removal steps. Clean up down below, put in there, fill everything up. As you can see, all the carbon buildup and sludge has been cleaned off, and I used a little toothbrush along with my brake cleaner for that. And that's all there is to changing the oil. Okay, so now that the oil change has been done, we're just basically letting it run a little bit to warm up the temperature. Then we're going to check for leaks and the levels again before the servicing is basically done. So while we're waiting for that, just running it's a good idea just to give it a good run over, just keep your eyes on anything you see leaking, anything you hear unusual. That way, you know, when you're done with your service, you can drive your car happy chappy.